Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now? It's that time of the week again where we get the old scouting binoculars out, notepad and pen ready as we go scouting around European and world football, trying to build the Celtic transfer summer wish list of all of our kind of hopes and ambitions, hopefully, as the Hoops and Brendan Rodgers look to go and reinforce the squad ahead of, hopefully, yet again, another very successful campaign. Over the last couple of episodes, we've been around some very interesting leagues, as well as setting out, the squad depth and strength that Celtic are going to have come this summer. Players who are out on loan returning, players who we expect to leave, Kieran Tierney coming in, and one or two other bits and bobs. But so far in this series, we've let the transfer rumour mill lead us down the direction of where to look next. And the transfer rumour mill over the last week has really been talking about one league only, and that is the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, which is a league I'm pretty familiar with myself. In the video today, we're going to be breaking down the top targets we should be looking at from the Belgian league, as well as the ones we have actually been linked to. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section, guys, and again let me know your hot takes, your feelings on the sort of calibre, the quality, etc. of the players that we're discussing. The comment section in the last couple of videos, again, as always, has been absolutely on fire, and there was a comment asking about me to talk a bit more about speed, and with some of these guys it's just not been relevant. I don't really have access to top speed, if that's what you're after in terms of the metric. I'll maybe dig into that one in a little bit more, but yeah, for the most part I'll try and tell you how nippy and how quick these guys are, as well as how they stack up statistically, their current transfer makeup, position contractually, estimated transfer value, all that good stuff, guys. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it, because we're picking up with a familiar name and a familiar face to Celtic fans from the summer, and that is Michel-Ange Balikwisha, the versatile Belgian youth international forward who was linked to us quite strongly in the summer and seemed to be our top attacking target in the summer. But Balikwisha, as you'll remember from the summer, was coming off the back of returning from injury, played a couple of games amidst our interest, and then kind of broke down again, and his season is just starting to get back up and running again. He's very versatile, can play all across the front line, if you remember from when we previewed him back in the summer. And as you can see, over the last year, he's only picked up 3 goals and 1 assist in all competitions that mean anything to us, certainly, for Antwerp. And most recently, getting back into the team as well. In the 5-1 loss to Union Saint-Gilloise, which he got a wee assist in as well, playing up front, before scoring in midfield, it looks like here, against Club Brugge in a 3-2 loss. And Belgium at the moment has went through its split at the moment, so it's only tough opposition really now for the likes of Antwerp between now and the end of the season. So he's coming in at the business end of the year, so it'll be interesting to watch how he progresses and how he kicks on. The fact that Celtic are linked to him again and sent scouts out to watch him in the match against USG, I think tells you a lot about how committed Celtic are to revisiting this deal. And this is a great case of, football players not being fungible, in the sense of they're not interchangeable. Just a forward that costs 9 million is as good as the next one. This is a case where they've identified an individual they really want this player for whatever reasons they deem valuable, what he would bring into the squad, and there have been in a good position to stay patient, keep arm's length from him, watch his recovery from injury, and if he is, kind of buy it now. Maybe we could buy him, pardon the expression. His transfer value on Transfermarkt has dropped to €5.5 million, predominantly displayed as a left winger, and the guy's won some stuff. Antwerp were in the Champions League not too long ago, had won the Belgian League, and he's done one or two other bits and bobs as well. Belgian Super Cup winner. Full treble of Belgian trophies there. Love to see that. His contract expires in 2026, so when we get to the summer, he's in the final 12 months of his deal. Very decorated youth international, of course, and back in the summer kind of time when we were looking at him, you'd have been thinking closer to the kind of €9-10 million mark. But now, coming into the final year of his contract, the injury record that he clearly has at this stage in his career is definitely gave him a bit of a discount. And this is a move that really, I would be all behind Celtic getting, because one of the things that really excited me about this link when it came up in the summer is that if you were to look at the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, which is a very good league for really just transfer activity, up and coming players go there for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, and then they can jettison themselves all across, all levels of football, really. And if you were to look at the Belgian league over the last couple of years, Balikwisha does stand quite comfortably amongst top 5s, top 10s for a number of important statistics for forward-based players. And if we're going to go into these leagues and buy top of the food chain level players, then that is going to be good for us, because generally those players do go in to Champions League teams and dominant teams in top 5 leagues quite regularly with a good degree of success. So the Balikwisha deal, the cheaper it gets, the more I like it. But rumour has it, on that trip to Belgium, the Celtic scouts, guys, this is probably the best news about this rumour that we could all hope for, right? Because they've went to Belgium, they've watched a game of two top teams, they've went to see one guy, and they've maybe caught some other players have caught their eye. And the players that have caught their eye just shows you that they do know a player. They can see a player when they see them. And Noah Sadiki for USG, who is like a pitbull, kind of dominant, kind of centre midfielder. Exactly the sort of player we would love to bring into our midfield to just lift the physicality level and give us a little bit more defensive cover. He's only 20 years of age. And over the last year for USG, who you probably know if they played Rangers recently enough in the Europa League or whatever, they're also connected to Brighton very strongly. A lot of the Brighton team have came directly from Union Saint-Gilloise, and he has been quite comfortably a rock-solid, steady midfielder for them. 1 goal, 2 assists, I think tells you everything you need to know about this guy in terms of his, attacking output. He's all about the defensive stuff. He's all about getting his tackles won, duels won. And again, USG have been one of the dominant teams that have been playing in European football as well. And this guy at 20 years of age, if we even just have a look at all time, we've got a Europa League campaign in here, or is this maybe even 2 Europa League campaigns? The amount of, that's over 2 seasons. Got a wee bit of Conference League action as well, so he's played a few games there. And I don't think he couldn't have played Champions League then for them, so that's interesting to see. But in the Belgian league itself, clearly a very successful winner of the ball, a very clean defensive midfielder. And the way USG play is, normally, I'm not too sure exactly this season, there's been a bit of a difference in what they've been up to, but generally they've been playing like a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 kind of thing, where it's like 3 centre-backs with midfielders then having to go box to box, really do a lot of leg work, with those centre-backs having some interesting jobs to do off the ball and whatever as well. Now, like I say, this is a top-of-the-food chain Belgian Jupiler Pro League level player at 20 years of age, already in that Brighton network, essentially, will not come cheap and would be a player that would be expecting to play 90-95% of matches for us. He's won the Belgian Cup and the Belgian Super Cup. USG kind of like they won the league, but they didn't win the split. So that was a wee bit of controversy. You might have seen that out across social media a few years ago when it happened. A Belgian youth international, now a Dominican Republic of Congo senior international. His contract is up in 2027 and his value is only going up. It does seem he's actually got a bit of versatility here to maybe slide in at centre back or something else as well, like right back. And formerly of Anderlecht, who we all know produce very good players regularly. This is a player that feels like would take up a good chunk of our transfer budget. It is very much something that is on high on the agenda for us. So Celtic are going to entertain approaching someone like Noah Sadiki. Some of the other guys that we've previewed already on the channel very much now become much more realistic targets price wise, as well as quality and competition we would need to fight off to try and bring them in, because this Sadiki has probably got one eye on Brighton in the Premier League as well, and you're trying to turn his head away from that, as well as satisfying the transfer fee and all the rest of it. So great that the Celtic scouts have got an eye for a player here, big time, and great to feel that maybe the recruitment department are being ambitious with the level of player we're bringing in. We're taking less chances on going into unknown Scandinavian markets and like the Polish league and the Greek league and all this kind of stuff, and we're maybe Belgium produces players. And the second player in that game that caught the eye of the Celtic scouts was Franjo Ivanovic. Now, Franjo is he's not actually been in Belgium that long, but he's been a pretty important player, one of the main playmakers, one of the main talisman. And if you watch Franjo, he's a very Celtic-y kind of forward. You can imagine him wearing the hoops, you can imagine him playing at Paradise. Nice bit of versatility across the front line. Let's say USG have kind of got a 2 up front with an attacking midfielder type player, kind of a 3 up front, depends how you look at it. And he can play in a variety of different roles and been very successful so far in the Belgian league. In the last year, he's got 24 starts, 14 goals, 4 assists, and 2 penalties won, which is a lovely statistic to see here. And like you can see, a dominant player, not just in actually hitting the back of the net, but chance creation, winning his duels, and like dribbling, that kind of thing as well. So he's not just a one-trick pony of just like getting goals or assists, but he actually brings a little bit of all-around game with him as well, where he's getting shots on target, dribbles won, similar to Jota in like peak Kun kind of levels here. Good success on the duels, not that many missed passes, a lot of balls in the final third, this kind of thing. So a player that stylistically would really fit into the team number 1. And I think overall profile, you're going to laugh at, this is an accidental thing that's happening here, right? And if you've watched the last couple of videos, this will make you chuckle, right? He's 21 years of age, he's a centre forward, he's about the same height as me, 185. We've seen his tail of the tape there, ranked around €8 million at the moment, and I think that would actually be pretty good going. That would be a good kind of replacement for Kyogo transfer fee level. And if we're looking at someone like Balikwisha, I also think looking at someone like Franjo Ivanovic is just as credible. Very decorated Croatian youth international, of course. He's just moved there in summer of 24 from Rijeka, who again produced lots of players. But if you look at who he was at before Rijeka, oh, you couldn't write it, guys. He's came from Augsburg. Why don't we just link up with them at this point? He's played in the Europa League, wee tiny bit of Conference League stuff there, the Corky Cup, whatever that might be, maybe back in Croatia or wherever this other country is he's maybe came through at. But yeah, the versatility is there, the player style is there, a lot of the underlying statistics are there as well, and like in terms of like Kyogo replacement, for the amount we sold him for to buy and replace someone, certainly of the Adam Ida kind of price tag level. This is €8 million. I would be expecting this to be something closer to like £10 million, all being told by add-ons and whatever. But yeah, again, really interesting transfer, really encouraging. Now, again, similar to when we did the France video, I'm sure it was, the France one. This guy we're not going to be going in for. He actually, at point of recording, is just signed with another club, that other club being Red Bull Leipzig, and that is Ezekiel Banzunzi. Now, he's just transferred to them for €15 million, as reports have it at the moment. He was on the radar of West Ham, and for context, this is how he's performed as a defensive midfielder for a much worse team in Leuven than Sadiki and a few other guys that we'll reference in the video have played for this season. But this is, again, just to further highlight that top-level talent, high-value transfer fees come out of Belgium, and it's not anything to be feel like if we have to spend like 10 million on an Ivanovic or a similar fee on anyone else that we feature in the video today, it's not bad business, bad practice necessarily. It's just kind of like the going rate for the most part. So Banzusi has made his move to Leipzig. And a name that will be familiar to any of you guys that were here on the channel when we had the Balikwisha links is Jarno Stoikers, because this is a guy that if Balikwisha wasn't available because he was injured, we're not totally sold on his recovery. We can't quite get him cheap enough to make it work, or Ivanovic is too expensive perhaps. Not too sure this guy will be much cheaper, of course, but Jarno Stoikers is a very versatile forward, can also play in a kind of right attacking mid kind of situation here, takes lots of set pieces, and again, similar to Balikwisha when he's been fully fit and firing, has been unquestionably one of the most prolific forwards in the Belgian Youth League, in the Belgian Pro League, I beg your pardon. 33 games in the last year, 8 goals, 7 assists, and again, for Genk, who aren't winning leagues, aren't going into Champions League spots, that sort of thing, very good going. And like you can see here, despite him not being super prolific, scoring like 15 plus goals or anything like that, the return he's bringing to his team is very significant here, huge contribution. Like this, for example, a 1 each draw, he's got 1 assist. But on top of that, he's put 19 balls into the box. He's had a few attempted assists, big chances created as well, sitters that his teammates have no doubt missed because he only scored 1 goal in this game. He's winning duels, he's catching interceptions as well, he's playing a variety of passes across the pitch, and he's won a bunch of fouls as well, obviously getting free kicks higher up the pitch and whatever. So a good example of a guy that can play, again, in a variety of different positions, can play up front, can play attacking right wing, can also play as like a number 10 type player as well, but is going to cost you the thick end of €11 million, and being 23 years of age at the moment, and as well similar to a lot of other players that we're featuring, he's getting into that Belgium under 21 youth national setup. His contract is up in 2028. This also displays him as having the ability to play on the left. We've not seen that terribly recently, but he's certainly done it before. And this is a guy that, like, I can't say top of the food chain enough, but if we got Jarno Stoikers for like €11 million, €13 million, something like that, it would be a very good transfer, a really good statement of intent. He is also playing with O, so you can maybe get a little character reference or something like that, or maybe some sort of financial thing where you forgive them some of your obligations for O to make this deal a little bit easier to get over the line, something like that. But playing Champions League football is definitely the next step in this guy will make that step in his career at some point, and this is, like we just seen with that Banzunzi example, the Belgian league is where teams go to pick up a player, and like we're trying to do with Arne Engels and so many other players, but the teams in the top 5 leagues regularly do that kind of shopping in Belgium, and Jarno Stoikers would be a player that would probably see us, as almost one of the more attractive options on the table, being able to win medals, but on the doorstep or the doorstep of the Premier League, playing Champions League, all this kind of stuff in the transfer business we've done over recent years. So again, if we're looking at Franjo, we're looking at Balikwisha, I really hope we're looking at Stoikers. and we're having a go at that one. Like I was just mentioning in terms of like that Banzusi thing, where Belgium is like, you kind of need to go out on a bit of a limb with some of these guys. They might not have a huge track record. They might not be that widely recognised as like an up and coming player across like just football in general or whatever, because this is like the league of like emerging talents almost, as it were. This is the guy that's popped up on my radar. Can't say I know too much about him, to be honest with you, but he actually ticks like so many boxes, and his name is Yassine Titraoui, is I think how you say it. He's an Algerian international and he plays for Charleroi, and the position he's been playing for Charleroi is kind of what we are after, kind of similar to what we're looking at with Sadiki, but he can pass the ball a bit more. He's got a lot of similar defensive qualities in terms of his duel success, amount of tackles he wins, that kind of thing, but he does actually have a wider range of passing. And when we look at his performances, this is against Dender, who are on lower, like they're bottom of the league, they're going to get relegated. You see a wee bit of the Callum McGregor statistics coming through here with this guy, where he is getting a little bit into the final third, but he's knitting the play as well. He's spraying the ball around the final third as well, and he is contributing with, you know, a couple of a wee assist or a goal here or there, nothing too incredible. But again, at Charleroi, this is a guy that you'd be able to get a lot cheaper because he's much like early on in his development. But again, if we compare some of the numbers we've seen with some of these other players already, he is mixing it against some of the more difficult opponents as well. They've beat Antwerp here away from home. He's won tackles, he's made clearances, he's made blocks, he's winning a significant percentage of his duels, he's bagging interceptions, great volume of passing, very little possession lost or missed passing for that matter. And again, final third, there's a little bit of that there where he does get in amongst it, and if the opportunity presents itself, he can take it without being an attack-based midfielder, which, you know, if you think about the way our midfield is built, we're kind of wanting guys like that just do the best they can wherever the ball is. If they're defending, they defend. If they can attack, sort of thing. So at a team that generally don't dominate possession, nowhere near the level we do, obviously, as well, and facing some different challenges, I think there's enough meat on the bone here where, again, this guy probably doesn't expect to walk into our first team, knows he's going to have to fight for minutes and whatever. So I don't see it being a potentially like troublesome transfer to integrate or anything like that. He's got a few caps for Algeria, and he's actually got a winner's medal for Arab Cup, which is probably where he's got some of these caps for Algeria. His contract is up in 2027. The club have a further option for a year, so a transfer, like a player that they value the transfer of, if they've got that kind of thing set upon him at the moment. He's got a €3.5 million transfer fee according to Transfermarkt. He's just came out of Algeria last summer. At point of recording, he'll be finishing his first full season. And a transfer like this would be nice if we're not shopping for those top level talents. We're looking for a bit more of a bargain for a guy that is going to fit into the squad and could flourish and go on and progress a little bit more. But I want to keep us on that top of the food chain level diet really here, because the Belgian league, if we can snip a few top talents out of it, they could really lift the level of the squad. Another player who's at Genk as well is Mata Smets. Now, Mata Smets is a very, again, I feel like a broken record here, but very highly decorated Belgium youth international, and has been kicking ass and taking names in Belgium at centre back, and has played in midfield in little bits here and there. Genk are one of the better teams if you've been following the progress of he's been their main super sub, but this guy does everything from defence, like everything. He's picking up all the sort of statistics you want. Genk do dominate possession a little bit more than the average team in Belgium as well, so when they're playing lesser opponents, when they're at home, like this one here against Beerschot, for example, they're really dominating the ball. 131 accurate passes. This is like top end Carter Vickers numbers, with also 10 accurate long balls, 10 balls getting into the final third, 34 balls like down the channel, this statistic normally is, or a big switch of play. We don't see that level of numbers from really any of our centre backs. And he's, again, this is a high possession game. They've only won it 1-0. You can imagine Celtic having a game like this against, like, take your pick of bottom end teams where you have all the possession and centre backs get incredible numbers like this. But he also has range, you know, where he is going up the pitch, getting into the final third with some of those passes. And again, absolute box ticker in terms of profile, the ability to get him in at the sort of position he's in the market at the moment, and Celtic love to, you know, do them up and sell them on kind of thing. Currently ranked at €13 million, will not come cheap, but with the ceiling that this guy has, like if he plays Champions League and plays it well as a dominant ball progressing centre back, you know, those types of players you can name your price for, essentially, at the top end of European football. A very extensive contract, will not come cheap. Yeah, it does feature in defensive midfield at times as well, so maybe do we even evolve him into being one of them and can really kick him on? Because centre-back has been a little bit of a theme of discussion, and I was saying this with the Axon boys on Monday. This became the kind of topic of conversation of the replacement value of Liam Scales essentially, Austin Trusty at 6 million, the Rocky at 4 million. They're not clearly better players. They maybe add some different qualities and they have potential to grow into different spots. But really, to get a player who's distinctly better than, I would even add Carter Vickers into this, you need to spend Matt Smets level money, really. Now, I'm a personal fan of Joe Chima Fujita. This is a guy that came onto my radar when he was breaking into the J League, or J1 in particular. He's been in Belgium for a couple of years. He's and I've said this recently about the last player, Tatrawi. So again, sorry for the repetition, but kind of a little bit similar to McGregor, where he's like a deep line midfielder who is very good ball playing. His defensive statistics are kind of wishy-washy. Sometimes he's really effective in defence, sometimes he's not, but he's a very prolific set piece taker as well. And the reason this guy really popped on my radar is because at the age of like 17 or something like this, he was, I don't know if he was necessarily captain, but he was the main guy in midfield for Takuma Vortis, took all their set pieces, free kicks, everything, at the age of like 17 or whatever, maybe even 16, and they got promoted into the J League. He then went from there. They played a season for them. They kind of languished at the bottom of the table. He then went to Yokohama F Marinos post Ange Postecoglou, and he got into the Japan team. He's been in the Olympics, and he's done lots of cool stuff. And he's a good wee player. He's fun to watch. I'm a big fan of him. Is he quite Celtic level? I'm not too sure, but he's quite cheap. He's got good pedigree. He's a really good Japan under-21 captain twice there, like you can see. And, if we don't quite get some of these top targets, we maybe spend, for example, I could see us maybe spending like a lot of money on like a Franjo Ivanovic or a Jarno Stoikers or a Balikwisha, your 8 million euros, give or take. And if we still needed a midfielder, do we spend that level of money twice? I'm not that confident Celtic would. I would hope they would. But in the case that they don't, someone like Joe Chima Fujita could be good fun. Now, recently as well, I was kind of harping on one of the breakdown shows here, talking about how we don't really have anyone from the centre of the pitch that will grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And Adam Zorgan is a bit more of a defensive-based player. Again, plays for Charleroi, the same place as we just seen our last Algerian that featured in the video, Tatrawi, where he plays. But Zorgan is a bit more of an attack-based player. And look at the floor here. This guy takes all the set pieces for them and is like a very final third present kind of midfielder. And this is a guy that, like, in the Celtic midfield, Arne Engels is kind of carving his own path, but could be a bit more of an actual Matt O'Reilly type player, where he's not got like huge bursts of pace, but he's super effective, he's very strong, very confident, and with the right kind of base of midfield around him, really can do everything we want him to in midfield. Be successful in the duels, create lots of chances for his teammates, be clinical when it's needed, but also, like, as you can see here, plays a lot. He does play deeper quite a lot, and playing for a team that do defend and don't have the ball a lot, he will just have a little bit of that defensive nous that we're kind of missing at the moment. Would cost a couple of quid, a lot more than Tatrawi, but this is kind of Tatrawi best case scenario if you fast forward his career like 4 years or whatever, with Zorgan being 25. He's the captain of Charleroi. We like buying captains. It's a good kind of player profile model to go off of, certainly. His contract is up in 2027. He's only valued at 6 million euros at the moment. He's got some Algeria caps. Like, he's a good player. Can play all across attacking midfield, defensive midfield, everything. This is a player we would be hoping can make that step up. He's actually came from the same team, funnily enough, as the last guy. That's an interesting parallel I didn't expect to see. This is a guy, but we would be expecting or hoping could step up to Champions League level, whereas some of those other guys at the top of the food chain diet, they're maybe a bit more certain of that. But I do think Zorgan is maybe just below them in terms of probability of success. Maybe on a bit of a parallel to Adam Zorgan is Matthias Delorge Nieper, with 1 goal and 4 assists in the last year. He's not really had that great of a season. He's made a bit of a step up in the Belgian league. It's not totally worked out for him. I thought I would feature him because he is like a talented player, and again, because his season hasn't really went that great, he's a player that maybe if we did go in for him, we could maybe get him a bit cheaper than the advertised price. He is 20, so he's still really young. A lot of potential for improvement, of course. But again, because he's not dominating that league and he's not really, strutting his stuff, he would be expected to earn his place in the squad, lift the competition level. But because he does have sincere talent and has kind of proven it at St Truden, who again, we featured 1 or 2 of those players in the video already, has the potential to be like that perfect Celtic transfer of they get a guy that should be really good, but is maybe not in a perfect situation, that kind of damaged goods element that we spoke about in one of the previous videos, but really has only upside available. There's not much downside with a player of this kind of current situation. Doesn't have a significant injury record to write about, is very versatile, still has lots of room for growth, and could develop into really a number of different types of a player. He could be seen as a Rio Hatate type, or for lack of a better expression, maybe a bit of a Chris Commons, where like Commons could really play anywhere in the front line and kind of did play anywhere in the front line for Celtic, but was like that kind of attacking midfielder that wanted to knit the play, shoot from range, that sort of thing. Now, if we are looking at centre-backs and potential guys that could upgrade us, this is maybe not... I think it could be close to the Matt Smets level of this guy would definitely improve our defence. I'm fairly confident on it, right? But it is still an unknown for a few different reasons, and his name is Jordan Torunariga. Now, Jordan Torunariga, I watched play a bunch of times for Hertha Berlin when he kind of broke through their ranks before they got relegated and they kind of spiralled out, and he really caught the eye at a really young age in the Bundesliga. Since then, Hertha Berlin have been relegated. He's found himself in Belgium twice, and at the moment also at Ghent is on fire, is an absolute top rated centre back in that division, and he is out of contract in the summer. It feels like teams like Werder Bremen are kind of feeling around and sniffing him out, and I think, like, imagine he goes to Augsburg, it'd just be one of those things, wouldn't it? But I think this is a player who's won the Belgian Cup. He's an under-20 Elite Cup winner, a German under-19 Cup winner, and a Berlin Cup winner as well, so quite decorated at youth level certainly. And his transfer value doesn't mean anything because he's out of contract this summer. He's a free agent, which is Celtic's favourite price. A German youth international before senior nationalising with Nigeria. And isn't Celtic's favourite price just free? This is a guy that's played Bundesliga football, has played Belgian football, and is probably going to, if we don't sign him, probably going to go back to the Bundesliga as that level of centre-back. And at the age of 27, this would be a nice kind of evolution on the transfer policy from Lagerbielke, Naroki, Kobayashi. These guys that have lots of potential and lots of, potential is probably the only way of putting it, but are younger men, are less experienced at travelling, adapting to different work-life balances and different cultures and settings and all that kind of thing. Whereas someone like Torunariga here, Belgium and Germany isn't mad, right? But he's still done it. He's changed clubs, he's went around the place, and it's a free transfer at 27. Again, I don't really see any downside with one of these. I think this might be one of my favourite centre-back options potentially, but he's not left-footed, is he? Oh no, he is. He is left-footed. Wow. Yeah, I think that's my favourite centre-back shout. There is a few other ones, but I think that's my favourite now. Another one that popped onto my radar making this video was on Celtic's radar like 2 seasons ago when he played in Holland, and his name is also Algerian. He's Ahmed Touba, who is a centre-back partner right now with Stephen Welsh. And Ahmed Touba was in Holland. We were quite close to signing him. I can't remember who we opted for in the end instead. It may have been like Lagerbielke or Nat Phillips or something like that. This is how he was performing in the Eredivisie when we were interested in him. He was playing at a lowly team at Walwick, who got relegated. They're now back in the Eredivisie, and again, very capable defender, but still showed in Holland, like is required, lots of ball playing tendencies, playing like a good player on the ball. He went from the Eredivisie to the Turkish League, and you know what, the Turkish League is a bit of a step up in physicality and demand, a really challenging environment overall as well, especially at one of the Istanbul clubs, Başakşehir, who also play in European football, and he did none too bad there, to be quite honest with you. But since being in Mechelen, been in Belgium, I was about to say back, but he's never been in Belgium before. Again, very much showing the level. Great on the ball, great defender as well. And again, playing for a team that don't dominate possession, are very much under the cosh, but is a very progressive player on the ball. If we look at this 1-0 win here, away to Charleroi, and again, I don't look at these before prior prep or anything, I just see the numbers and I kind of know what I'm going to see from them. Huge dual success. The pass count's maybe a bit lower than I would have thought. But he gets 2 attempted assists for his troubles, some balls played in and someone's taking a shot off the back of it. Not that much possession lost as well, but yeah, I think it's the defensive qualities here, effective clearances, tackles won, are really stand out in a game like this. So again, 27 years of age, he's travelled around a little bit. His transfer value is like €2 million. Again, this isn't one that I'm mad excited about. They do have a buy option from Başakşehir. His contract in all cases is kind of up in the air this summer. Left-footed centre-back, again, can play with the ball. We were interested in him before. We were interested in Balikwisha before, so just kind of bringing that one back up. That could be that would kind of be like a bit of an evolution from Lagerbielke and Naroki in the sense of the age profile and the experience profile, but same transfer price point. So we're kind of still shopping in that kind of bargain basement market, as it were. And if we are going to be in that kind of price point, my number one defender pick from the Belgian Jupiler Pro League, viewers of my content will definitely not be surprised by this, is Koki Machida, the left-footed Japanese centre-back we should have bought about 4 years ago and didn't. He's 27 years of age, he plays for USG, which we've already highlighted the kind of value that gives in terms of, the quality of team he's playing in, the scouting operation behind it, and the care he's had in kind of bringing his career on. His contract is up in 2026, as you'll see here. And Koki Machida has been very, very good. I describe Koki Machida as the Japanese Rolls Royce. Love the guy. He's an absolute boss of a centre-back. Can play left-back as well. And USG quite often play free at the back, and he has the left side of the three quite often. And, you know, look at this game against Ajax. This would have been in the Europa League. Huge duel success. Nice pass count as well into the 70s there. A bunch of them. 4 attempted assists. 2 big chances created in the Amsterdam Arena. You know, very much of the part. Sadly, it looks like he didn't play against Rangers, so they got off the hook there with that one. But this is a guy I'm a huge fan of. And even if we look at his time in Japan, and, you know, I hear people saying, like, oh, we should go back to the Japanese market. The J-League had a bit of a golden generation back then, and I'm not too sure it's a guarantee there's always that level of talent, because Koki Machida was just amazing. Loved him back in those days. This was when Hitate and all the rest of the guys played there. I look at this against Takuma Vortis. I wonder if Joachima Fujita was in this match. Maybe on the bench or not. Maybe. Oh yeah, there he is. Look at that. 84. Goal from centre-back. Love to see that. Currently valued at €10 million, and I think like you get a lot of integration from Koki Machida here. Japanese Super Cup winner, AFC Champions League winner, Japanese champion, Belgium Super Cup winner, Belgian Cup winner. Winner. Gets into the Japan team, knows half of our squad already, is entering the final 12 months of his contract, and it doesn't feel... I've not really heard many links to Brighton for this guy, and that's kind of the path these guys are expected to trod. So... could be very similar to Franjo or Sadiki, where they've maybe got that nod that, yeah, Brighton aren't coming in for you this summer, and then Celtic come in. Imagine we just took 3 of these guys. I would maybe do that, by the way. Koki Machida, Sadiki and Franjo, and just give USG like €25 million. I'd be up for that, by the way. I think it would make a real big difference to our squad. And again, there's not too much about Koki I've not highlighted with some other players, but a guy that I've watched quite a lot, I'm a big fan of, and I've been saying we should buy him, I say, for the last 4 years or something. But the final player we'll feature in this video, again, very much top of the food chain, will cost us a fair nickel and a shilling on this one. He's 21 years of age, and his name is Zino van den Bosch of Antwerp. Again, a very dominant centre-back who has been playing in the Belgian league for a 21-year-old quite a fair length of time. He's debuted all the way back in January 2023, which is incredible. We'll see his role of the honour with Antwerp, but the nice thing about Zino van den Bosch is he's been playing with a really... Antwerp, you know, went and won the league recently and played some Champions League football, which he had some exposure to. Well, we just even have a look at his Champions League tail of the tape. Didn't do that great. Antwerp had a really tough run of it, as you can see in the old format here. Didn't actually play as much, of course. That was like 2023, 2 years ago at this point. But they had like Toby Alderweireld in that squad, and they had a few other kind of veteran types that kind of helped them to, you know, win the title, and then you know, was very good for them when they played in the Champions League and whatever. And Antwerp have been known in Belgium, or are seen in Belgium, as like a defensively sound team. Like when they win the league or they do well, yeah, they've got Balikwisha and a few of these guys that are like mavericks and goal scorers, match winners, but they're not 5-0, you know, they don't smash everyone out the park like USG did when they were kind of rising to prominence. Antwerp are much more of a 1-0, 2-0 kind of outfit. So defensive players coming through their ranks are definitely to keep an eye on them. The statistics don't jump off the page in recent form, to be quite honest, but he's got huge pedigree. He's very, very young as well. 191, big centre-back, really, really tall. His contract is up in 2026, so when we get to the summer, that's him in his final 12 months. Again, is going to cost a good couple of quid. Belgium Youth International comes with the territory as well, I suppose. But yeah, Belgium Cup winner, Super Cup winner, all that stuff. We love winners coming to Celtic Park, don't we? And right-footed, so he's got to compete a bit more with Vickers. Most of the centre-backs we've featured have been lefties, which is just what we're trying to do for the most part. And we leave the video today with the watch list now up to 46 players, which is now getting really exciting. We're getting lots of different shapes, sizes of players, different price points as well. So many different players across different stages of their career. It's been really fun to build to. I've got really no idea what number we're going to top out at for this series as we go through into the summer preparations every Wednesday here on the channel at 5 o'clock. But once we've done another couple of leagues, what I want to start doing is cross-sectioning this into things like defence, midfield and forward, and then really start to make a top 3, a top 5 potentially in each kind of category of what position we're actually trying to fill and we're trying to improve the squad on. I hope you've enjoyed this video today, guys. On screen now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content like this, of course. Hail, hail, and Moan the Hoops.